Hello, and today I want to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when they're going about trying to lose weight. What that is they'll basically take things too far too fast. They'll go pretty outlandish with a deficit, and then due to that outlandish deficit, they will not stick to their diet and they will just be completely miserable as a result. So, what I'm going to talk about today is essentially the same kind of protocol that I would put a client on. And essentially, what that's going to be is a much more sustainable diet model. And what that's going to do is going to make it easier for you to reach your weight loss goals without being incredibly miserable along the way. So, let's jump into the computer, and I'm going to kind of walk through exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's come over here to the TDEE calculator, and from here, let's say a 30-year-old male, 250 pounds, 5'11". So we're going to go ahead and calculate that. Now that gives us a maintenance calories of 2,539. And this is fine. Typically, this can be pretty inaccurate, and I've found at times this to be inaccurate. For sure, doing the activity level modifiers that you see here are also incredibly inaccurate in my experience, and those are not indicative of what you should be eating. But you will see a lot of people just take the BMR. In this case, 2,116 calories per day for a 250-pound individual, and for the most part, that is accurate. However, you'll see people take this BMR and say they want to lose 2 pounds a week. What they'll do is they'll minus 500 calories per day out of that 2,116 calories in the BMR. Okay, so then if we do the math, it's about 1,616 calories per day. Now, what's the problem with a 250-pound individual eating 1,600 calories per day? Well, for starters, it's really, really low, like crazy low. I have not eaten 1,600 calories in years, and I am not even 200 pounds. So it's incredibly unsustainable. Will that person lose weight eating at that deficit? Yeah, absolutely. They will lose weight very quickly, and they will continue to see weight loss happen, assuming they can maintain that. However, the issue with it is it's just not maintainable. And the problem with setting your calories so low is it gives you really no place to go once you may hit some kind of a plateau. And I mean, the same thing would be pretty problematic if you just took the sedentary level, which was about 2,500, and then you minused about 500 calories from that too. That would only be about 2,000 calories. And that alone is still pretty low considering. And I mean, if you drop directly to 2,000 or 1,600 calories, like I said, you will lose weight, absolutely. Odds are it's significantly less than you were eating prior to that. So yeah, you'll absolutely see progress. But is it sustainable if you were to drop whatever you're eating now and then drop directly to those calories? It's just not sustainable. You're not going to be able to maintain that for long enough time for you to see significant results. And that's really what it's all about is, as I've mentioned in a previous video, is maintaining those results for a long period of time until they add up to your outcome result, which is the big thing that you really want to achieve. So what would we do here? Well, what I would do for clients of mine is I would have them eat their normal diet for about a week, have them track that diet, have them track those calories, so we get an idea of what a person's normal diet looks like over the course of a week. We get an idea of how many calories they're intaking, what those macros look like, etc., right? And then from that, assuming they're maintaining their weight or maybe they're gaining weight, depending on what's happening, maybe they're maintaining their weight, maybe they've been like 250 pounds for some time now, so they're maintaining on whatever they're eating. So let's assume that they're maintaining. and they're not really, let's say it might fluctuate 1 or 2 pounds, but they're essentially maintaining around the 250-pound area. So essentially what that tells us is the calories tend to fluctuate, but for the most part, they're still maintaining that baseline weight, right? So what we would do is we would log those calories over a week. We would track the weight pretty meticulously every day. So we would get an idea of how the weight's fluctuating. At the end of that week, once we finally have an idea of how many calories are being consumed, from there we will know, okay, what adjustments do we need to make? Let's say somebody is regularly intaking about 3,500 or so calories per day, and they're maintaining on that weight, right? They're maintaining that 250 on 3,500 calories per day. Because I mean, ultimately too, everybody's different, right? Everybody has like a different activity level. Everybody might burn different amount of calories every day. It's not static across the board. But you can see how that would be incredibly drastic for them to cut down from 3,500 calories per day down to that 2,000, or down, even worse yet, down to that 1,600. It would be brutal. Your body would basically be in shock by cutting that many calories so quickly. I mean, and like I said, you'd see ridiculous progress, but it just wouldn't be maintainable. So I mean, you would be hungry all the time just because you're not used to eating that little. It's just not sustainable. But I'm going to teach you how you can make that sustainable. So what you would do is, saying you're maintaining around 3,500 calories, you would take those 3,500 calories, we would subtract maybe 250 calories from them. And now, instead of 3,500 calories, you're intaking about 3,250 per day. And so you keep doing that for about a week. And what you would do is you would log your weight roughly the same time every day for the course of that week. Then you would take all those weights, you would divide them by 7, and that would give you an average weight to kind of tell you, well, did my weight go down from the average weight of last week? Is it maintaining the average weight from last week? What's the difference? So what's actually happening? Now, if the weight's going down, then the 3,250 is being effective. In not only are we losing weight, but you didn't have to cut down to 2,000 calories per day or 1,600 calories per day. You're losing weight from a 250 calorie deficit from what your true maintenance calories are. And then, so what would you do from there? Well, it's really, really simple from there. What you would do is you would eat those 3,250 until you reach a stabilizing point where you're in maintenance again. And then you would cut out another 250. So now you're down to 3,000 calories per day. You do that again until you reach another plateau, another stabilizing point where you're maintaining. And then from there, you would cut down another 250. And then another 250, another 250, so on and so forth, until you maybe get down to that 2,000 calories. Or if you really want to take it that extreme, down to that 1,600 calories, which is like typically what bodybuilders will do in a prep. In other words, not really something I would recommend. But I mean, you see how it works now, right? And then since you're slowly moving down to that 2,000 calories, over time, your body will adjust to less and less food. You're not instantly cutting out all that food. You're allowing your body to take time to adjust to less intake. So once you hit like that 2,000 calorie mark, where do you go? I mean, you can do a number of tricks really to add to your caloric deficit without having to cut food, and that's typically what I would do. So you can add like 10 minutes of cardio 3 to 4 times a week, and then when you plateau, make it 15 minutes of cardio 3 to 4 times a week, or maybe 10 minutes of cardio 6 to 7 times a week, depends on which route you'd rather take. But then again, you just keep increasing the cardio as you need more of a deficit. So that way you don't have to actually cut out any more food. And that's actually what I would recommend. And that's what I always recommend. But I just want to add too that it is very, very important that if you do add in that cardio, If you are ever doing a reverse diet or you are going back into wanting to gain weight from where you're at, you need to taper that cardio before you do that. You can't just remove all the cardio because you're going to gain weight significantly quicker. So what you would have to do is say you integrated like 10 minutes of cardio 4 times a week. What you would need to do is slowly remove that cardio before you add any food whatsoever. Just by removing that cardio, you will kind of reverse diet and start gaining weight again. Because you have to remember that adding in that cardio helped create a steeper deficit. Anyhow, that's really all I wanted to talk about today, and I really hope that whoever watched this learned something. And I do just want to make a quick plug if anybody is interested. I do still offer coaching. If that is something that you are interested in, feel free to email me. I will leave my email in the description of this video. Just a heads up though, I only take a very limited amount of clients. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you message me as soon as possible. With that being said, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like the content. Give the video a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next one. And then once we finally get an idea of how many calories are being intook, is intook a word? Intake, I want to say intaken, but that doesn't sound right either.